Well, folks, it's not the drag queens, okay? Whenever you hear Maga talk about drag queens and how drag queens are coming for your children and trans people are coming for your children, actually, Maga conservatives and fake Christians of today needs to take a long look in the mirror, because it's not the drag queens, it's not the trans. You can't find the kind of stories I'm about to read to you about those people, but you can about mega pastors, and you can about Republicans who are running for office. Every day I see another one being called out for his hypocrisy, being called out for his abuse, being called out for his addictions. And that's what we have here in this next segment of the show. We just have some vintage MAGA hypocrisy. So get ready for it. I'm going to be reading you a couple of articles here. And before I do, I want to thank everybody out there for subscribing here on the channel. And if you haven't already and get a chance, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1 million. And if you don't feel like getting in on the conversation and you just leave a blue heart, that blue heart will go a long way to keep us in the algorithm. And be sure to hit that little notification bell so you know when I put a video up. I do appreciate each and every one of you, but I sure don't appreciate this big dose of hypocrisy. Right here, I'm reading this from the Associated Press. So, Texas mega pastor, mega church founder Robert Morris pleads guilty to child sex abuse charges. And there he is being led away in handcuffs. So let me bring this article up here. The founder of the Texas megachurch, who resigned last year after a woman in Oklahoma accused the pastor of sexually abusing her in the 1980s, pleaded guilty Thursday to 5 counts of lewd and indecent acts with a child, authorities said. Robert Preston Morris, 64, entered the pleas before a judge in Oklahoma, I don't know how to pronounce that, Osage County, as part of a plea agreement, according to the state's Attorney General office. The abuse began in 1982 when the victim was 12. And Morris was a traveling evangelist staying in Oklahoma with her family, according to the statement by Oklahoma Attorney General Genter Drummond. The abuse continued over the next 4 years, the statement said. Morris was the senior pastor of the Gateway Church in Dallas-Fort Worth, suburb of Southlake, where he led one of the nation's largest megachurches until his resignation. He was indicted earlier this year by an Oklahoma grand jury. Under the plea agreement, Morris received a 10-year suspended sentence within the first 6 months to be served in the Osage County Jail. Morris was handcuffed and wearing a suit as he was escorted out of the court, as seen on Thursday by 2 sheriff's deputies. The victim, Cindy Clemashire, who is now 55, said in a statement that justice has finally been served, and the man who manipulated, groomed, and abused me as a 12-year-old innocent girl is finally going to be behind bars. The Associated Press does not name people who have been sexually assaulted unless they come forward publicly, as the victim did. So she was okay with her name being shared here. My hope is that many victims hear my story, and it can help lift their shame and allow them to speak up, she said. I hope the laws continue to change and new ones are written so children and victims' rights are better protected. I hope that people understand the only way to stop child sexual abuse is to speak up when it happens or is suspected. Morris must register as a sex offender and will be supervised by Texas authorities via interstate compact. He was also ordered to pay his cost of incarceration, including any medical expenses and restitution to the victim. One of Morris's attorneys said that Morris wanted to accept responsibility for his conduct and wanted to bring the legal matter to an end for the sake of him and his family and Clemashire and her family. While he believes he has long since accepted responsibility in the eyes of God and that the Gateway Church was a manifestation of that acceptance, he has readily accepted responsibility in the eyes of the law, his lawyer said. So when asked about the allegations last year by the Christian Post, Morris said in a statement to the publication that when he was in his early 20s, he was involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in the home where he was staying. He said it was kissing and petting, not intercourse, but it was wrong. Gateway Church was founded by Morris in 2000. He has been politically active and formerly served on Donald Trump's Evangelical Advisory Board. Again, folks, not a drag queen. The church hosted Trump on its Dallas campus in 2020 for discussion on race relations and the economy. Of course, the Gateway Church declined comment. The pleas were entered in court by the judge. There can be no tolerance for those who prey on children, Drummond said. This case is more despicable because the predator was a pastor who exploited that position of trust and authority. The victim in this case has waited far too long, far too many years for this day. So, again, not a drag queen. That was a Trump supporter. That was someone who had Trump at his church. That was a mega pastor who profited off of the gospel, who used that position of power to lure somebody, because everybody thinks, oh, well, my kid will be safe or I'll be safe around a pastor. But if you look at the statistics of everything, and I challenge anybody out there to find a drag queen story like this, you don't find them. It always comes back to these type of people every time, and the stats are there. So I'm also going to bring up another article here, and this one's even crazier than that one. And I know you're thinking, Brando, how is that possible? Well, here's another Republican who has been exposed for one of the weirdest things I've ever read out loud, and I can't believe that I'm about to read this one out loud. But yeah, again, folks, this is real life in 2025. Republican candidate in Virginia caught in Tumblr Nazi porn scandal. Yeah, I actually said that out loud. John Reed has found himself in quite a scandal as others call on him to resign from the race. Here comes another Trump-supporting Republican with his Nazi porn addiction. So, you may recall that the Nazi porn scandal that plagued the Republican lieutenant governor of North Carolina last September. For the second year in a row, the cooler months have ushered in a Republican Nazi porn scandal, this time beleaguering a candidate for lieutenant governor in Virginia. Republican nominee John Reed faces fresh scrutiny surrounding a Tumblr blog that allegedly linked him that contained pornographic content. Reed denies ownership of the profile, which has the same username as other social media accounts. It was previously reported that J.R. Doe posted users' photos that, per the Washington Post, range from explicit photos of male genitalia to images typically of racy underwear ads. When the news broke, Reed, who is gay, persisted with his campaign despite Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin urging him to drop out. On Wednesday, American Journal News unearthed additional details on his Tumblr profile. In October 2015, the blog reposted an image of a male college student in underwear, which was published by a Nazi fetish account with a racial slur in the username. I'm not going to read that slur out loud, but the usernames described themselves with a racial slur and was seeking superior white men in Washington, D.C. area. The Nazi fetish account also posted sexual images, including swastikas and white supremacist slogans, but J.R. Doe only shared the one underwear post. So according to Reed, the whole story is concocted to smear his sexuality. Virginia Democrats, however, are calling on Reed to suspend his campaign. The account that Reed appears to have promoted and engaged with are full of hateful, racist, bigoted imagery, said Virginia Delegate Mike Jones. John Reed's track record shows he is comfortable with white supremacy. Now it looks like he's fine with it showing up on his social media feed. The news of racist, anti-Semitic online content linked to John Reed on a social media account is appalling and shameless, said Senator Adam Eben. They reveal John Reed has a disturbing level of comfort with disgusting, dehumanizing ideologies. The scandal echoes that which dashed the 2024 I cannot say that word. I'm not doing well today on my pronunciation, so I'm not even going to try to say acetaminophen at this point. But anyway, so last year, CNN reported that an account linked to Robinson had boasted about being a black Nazi, among other shocking posts on a pornographic forum. So, yeah, I would challenge anyone out there to find me drag queens or trans people or anyone like that doing this type of thing. It always falls back every time on the Republican Party. And then you got to say to yourself, they're not releasing the Epstein files. So don't it all kind of seem to go hand in hand? I mean, when anytime they have a gathering, Grindr just blows up. It comes off the rails. When they were out in Arizona supposedly having a memorial for Charlie Kirk, which turned into a hate rally, Grindr pretty much crashed that day. It does every time they come around. So when you look at stories like this and read these stories and then they won't release the Epstein files, how can they deny How could they deny it? It all lines up perfectly. And I'm like George Carlin, who said, I'm just sitting back taking notes. I'm a notebook guy, just watching the world circle the drain, and I'm pointing to it. Well, that's what's happening here. I mean, I'm just pointing to the obvious. All these stories, and there was another one that I lost. I couldn't find it back. I was going to include it in this video. There was a third one I found, and if someone knows it, you can throw it in the comments. But here's the thing. If you throw the third one, someone will come behind you and throw the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth one because it's happening all the time. But I did see another story about another minister who did something else. It always falls back on them. And they're the ones now going to bat for the pedophiles by delaying the release of the files. So if they were truly going to be transparent, they would demonize this stuff, but Trump never does. You'll never hear Trump say a word about these people. You'll never hear him say they don't recognize our movement. They don't represent us. You'll never hear him say that. He'll always just ignore that and talk about the radical left and talk about trans people in sports, which, by the way, there's 500,000 NCAA athletes. Less than 10 of them are trans. The odds of you ever having, or your kid ever having to square off with a transgender person in a sporting event is pretty damn slim. But the chances of getting hurt by a pastor from a mega church or some Republican politician, yeah, it's a shame that that's where we're at. But I wouldn't go around them. I wouldn't trust those people as far as I could throw them. And I would definitely keep an eye on my children if anyone like that was around, because it always falls back on them every damn time.